Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 44 of Twitch Tales. Where did we leave off in episode 43? Well, you had just tried to trigger a trap to... Oh, that was some unintended alliteration there. You had tried to trigger a trap to trap the terror that was terrifying the town of Fondirg in the shape of a green dragon. The green dragon Luciferique had demanded a sacrifice to appease him for the sake of you killing some of his half-dragon offspring. And you, as Apis, for various reasons, decided to be that offering, to be that bait, as part of a trap. So we started last session with you out there in your rope, having realised that you'd been outmatched and outwitted, and the dragon had no intention of ever turning up to claim his reward. Instead, he sent one of his offspring, one of his eldest sons, a half-green dragon giant boar, who came out of the forest and told you Father's chosen one of his own. He didn't get to choose which of his children you killed, and you don't get to choose either. Father's chosen his own. And then there was a scream from the south of town, and Apis had to quickly make the decision, oh boy, do we all run back to town and ignore this half-dragon boar? Do we stay here and fight, but leave the town to their own devices against this dragon? What do we do? We decided that we were going to keep a small, tight assassin group with us. Everybody else, though, forgoes the trap and heads back to the village, the town of Fondirg, to deal with that. So Apis and a couple of select others stuck around, attacked the boar before he could run. The boar apparently was not meant to attack you, it was just meant to trigger the trap and leave. But the boar was quite headstrong and stubborn as a boar, and attacked you. Why we know that was the plan in the first place is that we heard it being shouted to him in Draconic from another half-sibling of his, a half-green dragon giant crow, that flew overhead and said, "You stupid idiot, we're not meant to be getting into a fight right now." And so the crow was kind of pulled into the fight as well. And through a very tight series of circumstances where lots of our allies were seriously wounded, but none died, thankfully, we managed to come out victorious in killing the half-green dragon boar and the half-green dragon crow, which is going to put a significant damper on this green dragon's army that he's trying to build up, because those were quite clearly two of his powerful generals, as it were. So, upon turning around after the fight, making sure that all of our allies were conscious again and safe, including our companion, a giant bee called Mel, we healed up Mel. We managed to get everybody back to consciousness, and then we turned around just in time to see, disappearing into the night sky, Luciferique, the green dragon, flying away. And with our nat 20 perception at the time, we managed to see through the darkness to the glinting that denoted some body hanging from his claws. And he had obviously chosen somebody, and whether they were alive or dead, or even male, female, other, human, dwarf, we couldn't make out any details at all, other than the fact that we could just about see through the darkness that he had taken somebody and disappeared into the forest. We hunters marked a rat running away as well. Yes, thank you for the reminder. So there was one green dragon giant rat that survived the entire fight with us and decided to nope out of there. And so we hunters marked him and sort of let him disappear off into the forest, hoped that he's running back to the dragon's lair, and we kind of used our hunter's mark to maintain concentration on that rat to have a better idea of which direction the lair should be. And that's where we pick up. It is past dusk. It is now into the twilight time of day of the 12th of Altabris, 5 days before Apis's birthday, just as a wee reminder there. What do you want to do? You are just north of the town of Fondirg, just after a dragon is attacked. There is chaos as much as you would expect. There is screaming and crying and all sorts of sounds coming from the town. It's the town proper. What do you guys want to do? Luciferique is now our arch nemesis, it appears. It seems that way. Yep. Seems Apis and green dragons have quite the history. Almost like it's a theme that Robert's put into a story to craft an interesting story around. Oh, good idea, Batmerp. So we first thing we do is we thank Altamez, the god of the hunt, for the hunt with the crossed arrows, as we do. We collect as many of our arrows as we can. Now, that's a good point. We had 22 arrows. Can anybody tell me how many arrows we fired during that fight? It was quite a lot, because we have extra attack and we can fire twice per round. Does anybody know? Was it somewhere around 10? Somewhere around that? Was it 8, Faye? It was at least 6, I know that much. Was it 8? I'll say 8. So we are down to... and the reason that the arrows are in blue in our inventory below us here is that they are +1 damage arrows. They are masterwork arrows. They have a +1 to damage, but not to attack. Or is it the other way around? I always, for some reason, get this mistaken in my head. So I will have us, if we are in no rush to get back to town, then we can take our time to try and find these arrows, and that will determine the DC of actually finding them all. Otherwise, if we are in a bit of rush and we want to get into town, that will account for how difficult it will be to find them all. What do we think? How long do you want to spend looking for your arrows after the fight? +1 to attack, but not to damage. Is that right? Yes, of course it is. I've got to remember this. It's +1 to attack because it's made out of manticore teeth. The arrowhead is made out of manticore teeth, so it's more likely to pierce armor, but it's not likely to do more damage, because if an arrow is striking into you, it's still doing the same amount of damage. It's not magical arrows, so it's not doing any more magical damage. It's just more likely to hit. We should take a token from the crow too. We do have a dead body of a crow somewhere up north, somewhere a little north to us as well, like a few hundred feet or so to the north. As it was flying away with its last few hit points, we managed to get an arrow right through the back of its head. So the poll that has just gone live is: how long do we spend looting or looking for arrows, recovering our arrows? Looting, the beasts don't have any like pouches or items or anything on them, but they are half green dragon, so they might have magical properties. If you wanted to take scales and things, you can. And the options are less than 5 minutes, 5 to 15, 15 to 30, 30 to 45, or more than 45 minutes. The longer you spend looking for things, the less the DC is of like finding them all, the more likely you are to actually find all of your arrows again. But the longer you are out on the north of town while other people are dealing with what's going on in town. If you only spend 5 minutes looking for stuff, or less than 5 minutes looking for stuff, then it's going to be quite a high DC for you to actually find them all. And you're probably not going to be able to loot any of the dragon scales in that time. It will take more than 5 minutes to harvest some usable dragon scales from their hide, because it's not just like they're stuck onto their body with Pritt Stick. You've got to like hack them off with daggers and things while keeping them actually preserved enough to use. How long would it take to generally go over each of the ones we shot? I mean, like a few minutes, because like it's not just as simple as go to them, press A to collect, you get your arrow back. This is a more real-world situation where the arrow is embedded deeply into them, and you have to kind of wiggle without breaking the shaft of the arrow, and try not to damage the fletching as you're pulling it out by the fletching. All that sort of stuff. So it does take time to extract an arrow from a body, generally speaking, especially if you've shot the boar in the neck and then it's kind of like collapsed onto it. If you want that arrow back, it takes time to like manipulate and cut it free and all that sort of stuff. To get to the crow would take probably about 5 minutes just to get to the crow, because it was flying away from you with a dash, and it was like from memory it was like a couple hundred feet away when it was killed, and then it plummeted down into the undergrowth bushes somewhere to the north. And that's if the arrow isn't already broken, which I know a couple of them were, because I think we rolled a nat 1 on one of them, so one of them would have shattered on impact. Alright, so with 51% of the vote, Apus's mind is in let's see, what was the vote like? Some people saying 5 to 15, most said 15 to 30. So Apus is in, like, Apus wants to rush, but they want to take their time to actually get the stuff back as well. They know that there are enough people, competent people in the town of Fondirg. There are knights, high-level knights of Kavosna, there are arcanists, there are druids, there's a mayor that's dealing with stuff as well. So whatever's going on, they can deal with that, I'm sure. Apus instead takes their time to investigate for their arrows and whatnot. So behind me in this dice tray here, I'm going to grab Apus's sparkly gem die, and I'm going to roll you an investigation check. I'm going to just set the DC. If you're spending 15 to 30 minutes looking, what is it going to be? You shot 8 arrows. Okay. And your investigation, you are not proficient with investigation. You can see in your skills box, you don't have investigation, so it's just going to be a +3 from your intelligence. 19 plus 3, that's a 22. 22 to look for your arrows and whatnot, with a maximum of 30 minutes to look for arrows and loot. I'll say that you get back 6 of your 7 possible arrows. One of them broke on impact, and when you go to look for that one, the one that shattered, you can't even find the arrowhead for it. It might have embedded itself into a tree trunk or something before the arrow shaft smashed. So you get back 6 of your 8 arrows that you fired, which is very good. All right. You also have a little time during that time to investigate the bodies for various different body parts. Now, we won't get a lot of things. We do manage to get over to the crow within that time. We get our arrows back from the ones that we shot through its skull. A few other parts of its body we managed to get a couple of things back from that. And we can also pluck a couple of feathers easily enough. But if you want scales, it'll take a little bit more work to harvest. What exactly are we looking for from any of these bodies? Are we looking for just crow feathers? Are we wanting the boar's tusks? Are we wanting scales? Are we wanting vials of blood? What do people want from these creatures? Say a quick prayer over the crow. That's a good idea. So when we pull the arrow back out of the crow's skull, it's going to need a little extra work to its fletching, it seems, but you pluck a few more of these giant crow feathers and you can use those as fletching for your arrows easily enough. You also are reminded that before this trap was triggered, you said a prayer to the god of hunting, Altamez, to try and guide your hunt and bless your hunt. And it seems he has. Your final arrow to take down this crow as it was retreating was perfectly aimed. And so you cross a couple of the arrows over the body of the crow, being that crossed arrows is one of Altamez's symbols. And you say a little prayer to him. I'm just going to roll a religion check just to see how well you can sort of pay deference in the way that he appreciates. That one's cocked. It's basically the same number. 5 plus your religion modifier would be 3, so 8. Your adrenaline's up and you're not really focused on Altamez so much as getting your arrows back and reclaiming. So you sort of going through the motions of thanking him for the hunt, but you don't really feel like your heart was in it so much. What do people want? Let's see. Get tokens from both the big boys, so we can easily get feathers from the crow as a token. Take the heads as trophies. Heads is going to take more than 30 minutes to loot. So with the time that you decided to spend on this, Apis thinks about taking the heads, but decides it's going to take them too long. Boar tusks, you could crack out a tusk. I'd say that you can get back the arrows you got, get 2 back from the crow, and you can crack away 1 boar tusk if you wanted. A beak for a hat. Take a scaly feather and a tusk minimum. Crow feathers and boar tusks. Okay, most people saying feathers and tusk. How large is the crow? Its body is that of a... the crow's body would be that of about a sheep, and then the wings obviously large enough to hold up a creature of that size. Alright, so we make our way back. It's approaching the half-an-hour mark as we get back to the boar's body. It was probably like 25 minutes that we've been out here doing this stuff. And so we take out our hunting knife that we have somewhere beneath. There we are, down in that corner there. And I will roll you a survival check to see how well you can harvest this boar's tusk. You can see in our skill box that we are proficient in survival. 10 plus 2 from wisdom plus another 3 from survival is 15. A 15 on the survival check is enough to get out one of the tusks without breaking it. You stab down into the gums of this boar and manage to stab down on both sides, cut away enough of the gums and sort of wiggle it back and forth until it loosens up, and then out comes this huge boar tusk. And you can you can add that. I will make a note to add boar tusk to our inventory below us, and crow feathers. And this is now at the 30-minute mark, so you leave the rest of it to be dealt with by the Knights of Kvosna and all the druids or arcanists or whoever's job it is to deal with dead monsters outside of the town. And it's now definitively night. The twilight period is pretty much over, and you're standing in darkness. Thankfully, as a dwarf, you have dark vision, so you don't worry too much. You approach the town gates, and there's been a couple of guards standing on the town gates watching you do this, and so they see you approach and open the gates for you. You are led into the town of Fondirg, and it's a lot less chaos happening right now. It's a lot less riotous. It's definitely in the aftermath of an attack rather than the immediate attack. By which I mean that there's not any bodies you can see. There's not even any green haze that you can see. You remember from first-hand experience, you have returned to a town that has been in the aftermath of a green dragon attack about 3 years ago, in a prelude to the campaign. Apis lost their whole village and family to an ancient green dragon. Sorry, an old green dragon. I don't want to say ancient because I don't want to specify the age of this dragon yet. Apis doesn't know. It's just a very big green dragon. And so you know kind of first-hand experience of what it's like to return to a village that has been decimated by such an attack. And Fondirg is not showing the signs of that. There's a lot of distressed people. There's a lot of people crying on the streets, and there's a lot of knights of Kvosna town guards trying to move people along and trying to comfort people. There's also quite a lot of people who are trying to leave the town gates, and when you were let into the town gates, there had to be the gate was only opened a crack for you to enter, because on the other side there are people with carts and horses and things trying to leave, and the people in the town's guards on the town gates are saying no, nobody leaves. So you are now in the town of Fondirg proper. What do you want to do? Do you want to go anywhere in particular? Who do you want to talk to? Where do you want to deliver your items to? Are you just keeping them for yourself? It's over to you guys. What do you do on this evening, this late evening? Why can't they leave? Well, if you wish to stay and listen to the reasons that the guards are giving as to why they can't leave, there are some quite angry and irate people that are pushing against the guards, saying like, let us go. You can choose to stay here and listen to that and learn why these people aren't being allowed to leave. Head in the direction we saw the dragon take off from. We did not see the dragon take off, we just saw it flying. So we can see that we can kind of head in the direction that it was coming from, but it was coming from the town. Like it was flying over the town. So we don't exactly know where it was. It was quite clearly not beelining away when we saw it flying. It was sort of meandering to show an intimidating presence over the town. So it's the direction, the origin of where it had taken off from was not clear to us. We could sell our services as healers if there were people around with wounds. Well, we look around Medioman, and we see nobody with wounds. We see some distressed people. There are some very angry, upset, distraught people in the town, but nobody seems to be injured. Nobody is coughing up or spewing up poisonous guts. Or there's no injuries we can see. Let's try to find out who the dragon took. Who do you wish to find that out from, though? So you're just going to ask people on the streets, or what? Go to the knights or the mayor. Okay. Who do we want to go to? The knights, the mayor, or somebody else? Most people saying the knights, so Apis is going to... they're in lots of minds. Some of Apis' mind is wanting to talk to these folk over here, but ultimately Apis decides we're going to go talk to the Knights of Kvosna, the sort of town guards of this town. It doesn't take you long to get to the headquarters of the Knights of Kvosna. You can see that there's... when you go to head in, you can see that the doors are locked. The front doors are locked. And there are a few people outside, a crowd of people that are boom, 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 banging on the door. No knights are around in your immediate vicinity, but you can see knights on the street, like towns guards that don't even have cloaks yet, like to indicate that they are squires. They're sort of one of the lower ranks of the Knights of Kvosna. You could ask them, but they'd not likely know all that much more information. I know Mel's still with us as usual, but whereabouts is Briar? Briar headed off back to, everybody but you headed back to the town after the fight was over. Ask why they're punching the door. So you ask the crowd, like, what are you doing? And one of the guys says, nobody's answering. We need answers about what's going on with this dragon and why we're not being allowed to leave the town and what they're going to be doing about it. And there's nobody bloody answering. Let's go speak to the knights. So we approach a knight on the street we don't recognise. Let's see, who is it? It is a woman, and let's roll on my random NPC generator chart. 722. 722 is going to be a rarer one. 722 is a rock gnome. There's quite a few rock gnomes in this town. The generator has rolled gnomes quite a few times, so I'm going to say that's kind of helping me to build the lore of Fondirg. Fondirg is a relatively higher, much higher than the average on the population of gnomes. So you approach a rock gnome woman who is clearly a Knight of Kvosna because she's currently sitting on the curb of the street with her arm around a crying boy. A young human boy, and the arm that she's got around her, the boy has a leather bracelet, or a leather bracer on with the symbol of the Knights of Kvosna. You know that the squires, once they're inducted to the Knights of Kvosna, they're given this bracer, but they're not given a cloak until they reach the Badger rank. So you walk over to her and you say, sorry to interrupt you, I just want to know, and she says, if you wouldn't mind, I'm just dealing with Kevin. He's lost his parents, so if you wouldn't mind. And she's kind of like trying to dismiss, and she's just trying to comfort this little boy Kevin. Do you push the matter, or do you try and find a knight that's not busy with something? Because finding a knight that's not already busy is going to be pretty tight here. It'd be funny if they're all at the mayor's. Find the mayor, move on. All right, so we move on. All right, sorry. I hope you find your parents, Kevin. And she's sort of like, they're there. And we walk off trying to find what's going on. Eventually, just to sort of cut to the chase, you encounter a similar thing a couple of times. Knights who are busy with trying to deal with putting out small fires, essentially, like, not literally, putting out small fires of like talking to people, calming people down. Eventually you see a stockier human man walking back over to the knight's hall, and he kind of and as soon as people see him come in, they're like, why is it locked? You shouldn't be locked on a time like this. Of all times, we need the knights. And he says, it's locked because we don't have anybody on the reception right now. Okay, every night that there is available, even those who aren't on duty have come on duty to try and deal with this problem. Okay, I've just woken up. I'm meant to be on the night shift. I was woken early. We're dealing with this as quickly as we can. Okay, we don't have anyone to answer the reception desk. Please try and take a breath and calm down. So we walk back over to this group, hearing that he's taking authority, and we say, like, what's going on? And he says, the situation, as we understand it, is that the dragon did not abduct anyone from the town. The dragon flew overhead of the town after attacking something south of town. People started to freak out and scream and riot after they saw the dragon flying in from the south of town, but it seemed to be an intimidation tactic. The dragon flew around over the top of the town a few times before leaving. It seemed to be showing off the fact that it had taken someone from one of the farms south of town. That's all the information we have at the moment. Somebody in the crowd says, "Did they attack the farms? Which farm? Which farm?" We don't know which farm. We don't even know if it was a farm. The dragon just came to us from the south of town, and before we knew it, it was upon us. Could it have attacked the greenhouse? There is possibility that it attacked the greenhouse. Why aren't we being allowed to leave? It is for your own safety that you're not being allowed to make rash decisions about your own safety. If you were to leave the town, you will be exposing yourself to the elements of the wilderness in the middle of the night. We know for a fact from recent reports from a certain ranger that arrived in town that the woods north of here are dangerous. They held dangers such as bandits and manticores. There are half green dragon offspring of this creature lurking, ready to pick off people who leave. We are preventing you from leaving for your own good. If you should wish to evacuate Fondirg at a later time, you are more than welcome to do so. But we are not allowing you to leave under the effects of such panic. We should speak up and try and calm the crowd. Do we just put it like a yes or a no, an up or a down? If you wish to, do you wish to speak to the crowd and try and like calm them down a little bit? Do you want to say anything to try and like to chill the situation out? All right, there's a couple of pieces of Apris's mind that is wanting to speak up and hold up the boar tusk and like try and calm the crowd down. Say, look, I've just killed the boar. We're going to be safe here. But for the most part, Apris is quite a shy person, quite introverted, and so the majority of Apris's mind decides, no, we're not going to speak up here. So this guy continues to orate to this small crowd of people that have gathered, trying to like explain the situation, explain that they're no longer in danger tonight, and they will be in danger if they leave. So just go back to your houses, get some rest, be with your loved ones. If you wish to stick around and hear more, then if you've got any questions for him, you can do so. But otherwise, what else do you want to do? Try and calm them with the panpipes. That would really cause a riot. Go to the mayor and ask some things of them. We know where the dragon came from. Let's head to the greenhouse and check them. Ask if we can help. We still want a damage report. So we've got two options coming up in the chat quite a lot here. Go to the mayor or go to the PEA. The benefits of either is that the mayor's going to be rather busy, but will possibly know more because people of authority will report to the mayor about what's going on. So it would be a more central source of information, less hearsay, less second-hand accounts, perhaps. But they're going to be busy, so maybe they'd be too busy to meet with you or whatever. The PEA is the advantage is you might be getting a first-hand account of what the dragon actually attacked. You might actually see a crime scene. But it's a 10-minute walk south of town, outside of the walls. With 57% of the vote, Apis decides we're going to go to the PEA, the Pankempuir and Emgelshed. We leave the mayor to deal with the business the mayor's dealing with, and we instead decide to head towards the south of town. As soon as we hear from this this Knight of Kvosna that the dragon attacked something south of town, we start heading towards the south of town. It's not long before we approach a very large crowd of people that are trying to leave the city gates. I say very large. The town as a whole is only about 1,000 people, so it's large for the town, but it's still only like a dozen people or so. There's a bit of annoyance to the point of perhaps getting to not quite riot level, but getting to the point of physical agitation, shall we say. And you sort of push your way through the crowd as best you can until you get close to the gates, and on top of the gates are three Knights of Kvosna standing there, just flatly refusing to even speak to people anymore, because people are just asking the same questions. People are angry about the same thing, just using the same arguments. You should leave us, you should leave us. Angry, not quite mob, yeah. You should let us leave. Open the gates, let us leave. Get out of the way, blah, blah, blah. It's my choice to leave if I want. You're keeping us prisoner here. And the guards have just stopped responding, it seems, at this point. So you approach the gates. The gates are locked and barred. There's three guards standing on top of the gate. And as you've pushed your way to the front, you can see that there's another 2 guards standing in front of the gates. What do you want to do? Misty step to the other side? You can Misty step to the other side if you want to, Bread Tom. Do the recognizers. You try and catch one of them's attention. You're a dwarf and you're standing in a mostly human society. Although, I've just established that there's quite a few rock gnomes here. So you get to the front of the crowd where there's an angry rock gnome guy going,
"You should let us leave. This is ridiculous. You can't keep us prisoner like this. I need to get home to my family in the mountains and blah, blah, blah."
And so you stand behind him where you can be more easily seen, and you kind of like get attention and be like, excuse me, just over here. And you see one of the guards turn and look at you, and there's a slight recognition in the face. Apis, I've been helping the town with things. Is there possible to... And Mel buzzes over as well, which gets their attention pretty quickly. So could I just need to get to the south, and the guy says, sorry, nobody's to leave the town, especially not to the south. Well, especially not to the south, what does that mean? What does it mean? It means that they're going to keep us here prisoner until we all get eaten by bloody dragons. The more people there's here, the less likely they're to get eaten. They're just going to send us out one at a time. I heard they sent out somebody this evening to get eaten by a dragon, and the dragon still took another one. We're going to be sending people out to their deaths for the rest of the... This is ridiculous! We should not be sent out to our death like lambs to the slaughter! We should be allowed to live... There's just a lot of confusion, and you can see why they're not going to open the gate for you, because as soon as they open the gate for you, there's going to be a rush. I need to report to the PEA. It seems... Actually, I'll make a persuasion check to see how sort of assertive you are being, to see if they can hear your pleas over the rest of the crowd. Nat 1. With a nat 1 on our persuasion check, taking it to a total of 2, we're being drowned out in the crowd. I need to take to the PEA. And then because you're like speaking up, other people are starting to be like, well, you got a green dragon, and more people are even drowning you out because you're speaking up. Can they smuggle us through some small door? There might be ways to smuggle in or out of the city. You know a particular thieves guild in town that might be able to smuggle in and out of the city, but that's opening up a huge can of worms if you potentially do that. You could climb up onto the top of the wall and then climb down the other side if you want to try and do that. If we misty step in front of this group, it could start a panic, potentially. Does anyone in the PEA speak Sylvan? Yes, you know Polython does. And Briar does. You're not sure where Polython or Briar are, though. They both went back towards town. Alright, let's put a quick yes-no poll in the chat to see if you want to use Misty Step to get onto the other side of the wall. It would be the easiest way to solve this problem, but you'd be using your last level 2 spell slot for the day. So, it's up to you. It is late in the evening. You probably will be having a long rest at some point, but you'll be leaving yourself with only 2 level 1 spell slots for the rest of the night until you finish your long rest. An option, if we want to, is to stay in town and send Mel. Mel is our giant bee companion. She can speak Sylvan. She could get to the greenhouse and back again in relatively quick time, probably about 10 minutes or so. And then she could report back to you, who also speaks Sylvan, what she sees. How is Mel's health? I think she was on like a couple of hit points from memory, because she got injured to the point of knocked unconscious during that fight, and then somebody brought her back with cure wounds or something. 83% of Apis decides, no, we're not going to use Misty Step to get out on the outside of the gates here. We want to keep hold of that 2nd level spell slot. Or perhaps we just don't want to be doing it in front of people here, because this is... dangerous situation. We don't want to cause a riot or a commotion from people seeing us casting spells. Alright, the next poll then is a quick yes-no about Mel. Send Mel alone. Look at that, exactly 50-50 on whether to send Mel. So, this whenever it comes down to a 50-50 shot, we are torn about it. It comes down to a dice roll. Because it's a Mel decision, I'm going to use this honey dice. A Mel honey dice. If it is an even number, Mel is not going to go. If it's an odd number, Mel is going to go on her own. That is an even number. Mel does not go on her own. You tell Mel, you sort of think about it, you look up to Mel and you think, I don't want to send her on her own, it's too dangerous for her. So we're not going to Misty Step over, we're not going to send Mel. What else have we got? Climb down, we could try and persuade our way up onto the wall with the knights, and then we can climb down the other side with our climbing rope. We do have magic rope here, a rope of commanding, a rope of climbing. We can make it do whatever we want it to do, and it can definitely climb us down the other side. Let's sound the panpipes to calm the riot. I don't know if you've been here before, Medio Man, but our panpipes, even though we are proficient in them over by the tools there's a running joke that Apis is not the greatest with panpipes. We've rolled many a nat 1 and nat 2s on trying to play panpipes. So I think Apis would have stage fright in front of a crowd of this side, trying to calm them down. These guys were closer to where the dragon took the person. Can anyone here identify them? Yeah, we asked that Sparrow. Because of the crowd not really it's hard to get their attention. I will just roll one more time to see if since your directive has changed now, not to persuade them to let you leave, but now it's just to get information from them. I will allow for a repeat check of the persuasion check. That is a 14. 14 plus 1 persuasion. That is a 15 persuasion check. 15 is enough that you, after 5 minutes or so, you manage to catch attention of one of the guys and say, like, do you at least know who was taken by the dragon? And he says, we do not know who was taken by the dragon. It was all we could tell was that it was a single person, and they came from the south. The dragon had them in the claws when they came past the town. Yes, unfortunately, it was too late in the evening, and they weren't expecting a dragon attack from the south, so it kind of caught them by surprise, and they weren't able to tell who it was. Maybe the panpipes would be so bad everyone would leave. It could genuinely work. Who wants to play the panpipes? All right, with 2/3 of the vote, Apis decides, for whatever reason, I'm gonna play the panpipes. I need to chill out. I need to disperse these, and so you start to play. You start to play the panpipes. You get them out. You try and get over your nerves, your stage fright. And I'm going to roll a panpipes check for you. Because you are proficient in it, you get a +3. Because it's a performance check, you get a +1. It is going to be a +4 total. 8. 8 is below average, but it's not the worst thing you could have rolled. 8 + 4, 12. With a 12 on panpipes, for a normal person, this would be slightly above average. For someone who is proposed to be proficient in them, this is below average. We play some relatively calming panpipe music. Because it's kind of right down the middle, it doesn't really have any effect on... It's not so bad that they disperse, it's not so good that they calm down. You just kind of play and add to the noise of the general kerfuffle. There is a little bit of calming, whether or not that's anything to do with your panpipes, or whether the fact that time has passed now and it is getting darker and colder, and so people are just kind of accepting that the knights are not going to let them leave, and they're going to either go home or try and find other ways out of the town. For whatever reason, the crowd is slightly dispersing. Instead of like a dozen people, now there's like half a dozen people here that are the most stubborn ones that are like, you should let us leave. But overall, our panpipes are okay. I think someone once lied to us and told us we were good at panpipes. Yeah, we think we have proficiency in them. Turns out, like the last twist of this campaign is going to be the fact that you've like been playing them upside down, and you realise, oh, is the panpipe meant to be played this way? Oh, wow, that's so much easier. Yeah, a high roll would have calmed people down, a low roll would have scared them away, so we hit the middle ground and do nothing beneficial. It's still the curse of the panpipes. The true heart of this story is learning to play the panpipes. The campaign ends with us giving an amazing performance. Yeah, that's the entire through arc of the campaign. So what do we want to do, everybody? What do we want to try? Do we want to try and get over this wall somehow? Do we want to go and find another gate? Do we want to go to the Thieves Guild and see if they can smuggle us out somehow, if they've got some sort of underground tunnel system? Do we want to go back to the mayor and try and talk to them? Do we want to pass without a trace and try and sneak past the guards somehow? I don't know. What do you want to try? We're not out of spell slots, we're just low on spell slots. You can see the berries down there underneath a spell list. We've got 2 berries and 1 flower, meaning we've got 2 first level spells and 1 second level spell. Is it getting dark? It is definitely dark. It's about an hour. About an hour after dusk. It's probably like 7 or 8 p.m, give or take, and it is definitely after nightfall. And raining, let's see, what weather is it? It has been raining all day. Let's roll a d10 to see how rainy it is. Pretty low. In fact, it would be in the drizzle stage, essentially, just like a bit of light mist, a couple of raindrops falling off of the eaves of the various houses. The puddles are still sort of saturated, sitting on saturated ground, but it's not really heavily raining at all. All right. Talk to the mayor, I'm seeing quite a lot. Go to sleep and just have a long rest, I'm seeing quite a lot. Is there anything... I've seen a couple of people saying climb down the other side of the fence with our magic rope. Mayor, long rest, or rope? Those are the options. What are people thinking? Mayor, Meh, meh, meh. My people say meh. Alright. I'll put it to a poll. I think meh has it at the moment, but you never really know until you poll it. You get to the centre of town easily enough. You approach the town hall. You can see that at this late in the evening now, most people have gone, like even distressed and disappointed people. There's a feeling of apathy has now taken over the feeling of danger. People realise that it's been an hour and a half or so since the dragon attacked, and the dragon's seemingly not coming back. They're satisfied with causing the devastation they did tonight. And so there's just this kind of feeling of people are just kind of wandering the streets. There's gentle sobbing happening. Most of the knights have gotten most of the situations on the streets under control. Even the town square, there's a few people there that are being a little bit vocal. There's actually a couple of people, like priests, that are out on the street orating the fact that this is the sign that the gods are angry with us, and that the second age of dragons is coming, and all this other stuff that you're hearing as you're going past. We must repent to the various gods. They're all angry with us. The god of what's his name? Zegrub. This is Zegrub's doing, the god of devastation and destruction. We must appease Zegrub by destroying all those things we hold worthy, all those things we have put upon a false pedestal as idolation. We need to destroy them ourselves before the dragon destroys them for us, to appease Zegrub, and that sort of evangelizing on the streets. But for the most part, everybody else is just solemn and apathetic. We arrive at the town hall and we make our way up the steps to the entrance to the mayor's offices, and we see that there are two knights on guard. You recognise one of them as Joey, who is a town guard, badger rank. He wears a blue cloak, signifying that he's above the squire ranking, but below the ranking of Wolverine. And he recognises us coming and says, Apis, you wish to speak with the mayor? And you say, yes, please, Joey. Right you are. And Joey turns and opens the door for you and allows you in, and then closes it again behind you. You're let into the foyer of the town hall, and you can see that the door is open at the other end of the hallway. The reception area is abandoned, but you can hear that there's voices coming from the hall of the mayor's office. So you walk forwards, you enter the office, and you can see that in the office is Mayor Chuffy Gardens, the male stout hobbit. You can see that there's Tammy. Tammy is the female human, late middle-aged, head of the Artisanal Alliance, the one that was in the meeting earlier today. Vala is here as well, the wizard, the head of the Arcanists Entente, the wizard that specialises in blood and time magic, with a fire sort of focus. And there is also Polython in there as well, who is currently crying and sort of sobbing. Polython is the head of the Pencampur in Amgylshed, the Druids Guild. We stand at the doorway, and we're standing there listening as the conversations are continuing. We hear. I should mention the knights are also in the room as well. The knights that we left here. We've got Pertran Dibblejibs with Leon Findlesmith Gregory Smacklebomb, who is a rock gnome. In my world, gnomes have very fun names, and lots of them. So Pertran is a male rock gnome who is a high-ranking official in the Knights of Kvosna. He's sort of in the sort of admin side of the Knights of Kvosna more than a field knight. And Pertran's the one saying,
Look, on the bright side, Polython, they won't have died in vain. The situation remains that every time they've attacked so far, every time we've got any sort of attack, we've managed to remove one of them from their army. He's quite clearly a young dragon and hasn't had time to build up an army of sorts, and so we don't know how many in numbers there are exactly, but we know that he's sufficiently lacking now. We've killed innumerable innumerable rats and squirrels and the boar, the crow, the bat. They've all been taken care of. So I don't know if that's any cancellation. There's just like you can hear somebody walk over and just he goes, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm being cold. Perhaps I'm just trying to look on the bright side." And there's a little bit of muttering, that you can't quite hear. Do you enter the room properly, or are you just going to kind of stay outside and listen? You walk in, hold up the tusk. One less dragon beastie. Yeah, you walk into the room and hold up the tusk and say, "Hey, on that note," and everybody sort of starts and looks around. You say, "There's one less in his army," and you show them the boar tusk, and you say, "Actually, make that two less in the army," and you hold up the crow feathers. And Persian says, "Yes, see, we are winning this war. If he thought he could take the town, he would have attacked us already. He's quite clearly going for a snatch and grab attacks situation. It now is more important than ever to keep the gates closed." And then the woman speaks up, the one from the Artisanal Alliance, the sort of union of merchants and stuff. She speaks up, says, "But for how long are we going to keep these gates closed? You've given us no deadline." And he says, "How am I meant to come up with a deadline for how long we're going to keep them closed? Because, of course, we need trade from the outside sources. We are not even letting the farmers enter the town. Well, because the dragon, we know the dragon can polymorph himself into various different critters in order to have all of this offspring. For all we know, he's created himself into one of the cows that are being brought in from the farmers towards the butchers. Next thing we know, we open up the farms to the... It's ridiculous that you would jump to that assumption over any other possibility. He could burrow under the walls. He could fly over the top. If he wanted to get into the city, he could get into the town. So why would he... Yeah, but we can't risk him getting into the... And then the next thing we know, the butcher explodes, and out comes a green dragon with old Mr. What's his face? The butcher in his claws. And they basically have a little bit of an argument back and forth about the best time to open up the gates or not. What do you want to say, or do you want to just stand and listen? We can't keep the gates closed forever. Well, we can't keep the gates closed forever. It's better to hit now when he eats and can't transform. What do you propose? What are you proposing? You're saying that we should go after him with a counterattack now? It's ridiculous. Most of our people are exhausted. It's been a day of terror and fright. People are... We wouldn't be able to muster enough militia to go after him right now. We can track him using his child if we have to, you say. I've got a hunter's mark, which at this point would probably be fading, because hunter's mark lasts an hour. In fact, it's gone by now. Because your hunter's mark lasts an hour. You spent half an hour hunting for your arrows and feathers and things after the fight. Then you've spent at least an hour in the town, like walking to the Knights of Kvosna, talking to the people on the streets, walking to the south of town and talking with the guards there, playing the panpipes, and then going to the mayor's office. So it's been like an hour and a half since the fight, at least. So your hunter's mark's gone, but you did, for that first hour, you did get a mental sort of ping of a direction that the rat was generally going. We did hunter's mark one of the rats as it was leaving, so I know the general direction of it, and as far as I know, we still have old Darren, the half rat, back at the PEA, and Polython just kind of shakes her head in her hands. Would it be helpful to send out a scout while we sleep and prepare or something? I mean, it's possible, but we need to decide on a... And the mayor speaks up and says, "Who are Common Harvester?" He says, No. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Everybody take a seat. We're getting a little bit heated up. As far as we know, we can assume that the dragon will not be coming back tonight. I don't know why we can assume that. Just, Pertran, please. From how the dragon has attacked, he's attacked once this morning, he attacked at dusk. He's quite clearly made his mark. He knows that if he doesn't reassess and regroup, he's not going to have as successful a sneak attack as he. People are on high alert for him in all aspects of the city now. So we just need to take the time to decide what to do. I'm afraid it's going to be a long night for the most of us. So everybody please take a seat. And you say,
What happened to the PEA? Polython looks across and sort of just shakes her head towards you. Are you okay? What is that? And Vala, the wizard lady, says the PEA was the target of his attack. Oh, I'm so sorry. So you take a seat at the table. Who is may I ask who was taken? Now, can anybody remember? I always get these two mixed up for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because they're both half humans, and I came up with them both at the same time. Charlie and Mark. Which one did I say was with us? Because one of them was back at the PEA and one of them was with us, and I can't remember which was which. Does anybody remember whether it was Charlie or Mark that was with us at the fight? Mark was with us. I thought it was Mark as well. I thought it was Mark that was with us. Let's just go with that. I'm going to retcon now. If you go back and watch the previous few episodes where I've mentioned that, you may see a mistake there. But for now, let's go forward with the fact that it was Mark that was with us and it's Charlie that was taken. Polython says, Charlie was taken. And you didn't get to familiar with Charlie, but you know that Charlie is a Bridden, which is the name for a half human, half elf. Charlie was a Bridden male, and he was of a relatively high rank within the Druids Guild. I'm so sorry, Polython. She looks like she's going to try and say something, but she just doesn't. So, I'm sorry that I'm late to the party. I was trying to leave towards the south to see where he'd attacked, and before I came here. So, what have I missed? Can we get me up to date? The mayor starts by giving a little thank you for coming here. I know it's important that we speak about these things and come to a conclusion without doing rash decisions, yada yada. He sort of like takes charge a little bit, and then he says, so to catch everybody up to speed, this is the information as we know it. If you wish to interject with information that you deem that I have misunderstood, then please hold your tongue until I'm finished, and then we can go through corrections. As such, the scribe will have time to keep up with it. And you turn around, and for the first time, sort of in the corner of the room, having said nothing yet, you see the same gentleman that you saw before, who works for the brush and quill section of the Artisanal Alliance, and is sitting there taking notes of the minutes of the meeting, as it were. So, on the morning of Lister Day, the 12th of Altabris, the year 3993 AQ, a green dragon, now known by the name Luciferic, set off from Lannis Woods and arrived outside of the town of Fondirg. We fade out a little bit there as he sort of gives us the exposition of everything that had happened today from his perspective, with the knights and everything, with the dragon arriving and demanding sacrifice, yada yada, with the decision being made to blah blah blah, send out Apis, set a trap, and then the trap not being successful, yada yada. Around the same time as the trap was being sprung to the north of town, Luciferic managed to attack from the south, targeting the greenhouse that acts as both the headquarters of the Panpipes in Emgolshed, as well as the place of worship to Yulash T. This attack had him crash through the premise and attack and take away one of the Panpipes in Emgolshed, the
young man known as Charlie. This attack was witnessed by another of the Pencampwyr in Amgylshed, a wood elf woman known as Ruan. Ruan has given us this account, but is in dire shock, and as such is able to speak only falteringly, understandably so, after such a traumatic event. Ruan is resting, but is otherwise uninjured. It is also said that during this attack, Lucifreak took out his anger on his surviving offspring there, the half-green dragon rat that was in custody, before flying away with an unconscious, possibly deceased Charlie in his claws. Lucifreak took to the northeast, heading back towards the Lannis Woods. While at the north end of town, Lucifreak's children, namely the half-green dragon boar and the half-green dragon crow, and many of the rats, were extinguished. And that brings us all up to date, I believe. There's a couple people with hands up, and we'll start with you, Vala. And she says, I would just like to correct a point on the magic used to set the trap. And she goes through a couple of minor details that he'd gotten wrong or misunderstood about the trap and how it was set and things like that, just so that it's safe for the record. And then after her, he goes to Polython and asks if she has anything to add, and she shakes her head. And he works his way down the line. Eventually he gets to you and says, do you have anything to add, Apis Hive? Let the minutes recognise Apis Hive, a hill dwarf ranger and outsider to this town, a travelling mercenary who has been invaluable in the protection of the town so far. Do you have anything to add, Apis? We have no evidence that Lucifreak kills the people that he takes, and the intelligence that we've gathered from the rat that we had named Darren suggests that it might actually be keeping people alive as workers and trophies, so we might actually be able to save them still. The dragon anticipated our ambush and tried to spring our trap without casualties, but the headstrong boar attacked anyway. It was spoken in the draconic language from the crow to the boar that they were not meant to attack. Pertran speaks up and says, yes, this is as I have testified, this dragon is not to be underestimated in its tactical abilities. It seems like it's trying to teach that to its children as well, with varying success. Tell them what the crow said. Yeah, you fill them in on the details of what you remember of what the crow has said. I also wish to state that one of the green dragon that attacked on the north end of town escaped us and headed back home. I managed to mark it with a gift from the god of hunting, Altemes, who allows me to better keep a track of the direction of my quarry, and so I know the general direction of where in the Lannis Woods we should be attacking if we deem it worthy to do so. We should also be aware that the rat that did escape may have information on our attack tactics that he may relay to the dragon. Very well. Yes, the stuff that we learned from the dragon rat that we were interrogating earlier today, that's all already been relayed to everybody. It's just if we have anything new information about the fight that went down or what has happened since then. And if there's nothing, is there anything else that we state an approximate compass direction, which is northeast, of the direction it was going to get to where it came from? With the information that we've gathered from Darren before his
abduction or demise. It seems like we are looking for a place beside a river, perhaps an old wood elf village, somewhere to the northeast in the Lannis Woods. I feel confident in my ability to track them if we should choose that is the direction we wish to go. How fast did it move? How fast did what move? The dragon or the rat? The rat was moving at a regular rat speed, giant rat speed, about 30 feet per round. 60 with a dash. If there's nothing else to catch them up on, he works his way around the rest of the people present, asks them for their account of what happened. The knights that are in the room with you, those that were available, they recount as much as they can, corroborate your story as much as they were there for it. And eventually you get to the end of the recounting of so catching everybody up to date, essentially. And then it opens up into the part of the meeting which is, what the hell do we do from here? And what do you suggest as Apis? There are a few suggestions coming from the various NPCs in the room with you, but what would Apis suggest to do next? Excuse me, Mayor Gardens. Would you give me a pass to get outside of the gate to the south of town, even in the event of a lockdown? It could help me to be able to come and go through to the Pencampur and Emgleshade. Yes, right. I could probably do something like that. I could have somebody. Pertrin, could you have your assistant write something for the? He says,
Cassandra. Yes. When I see her next, I can probably get her to write you a little pass for the knights, the guards on the gate, to allow you out. You say, right, thank you very much. He says, come by the Knights of Kavosna in the morning, and I'll have Cassandra write you a thing. We ask the group, does anybody know the extent of the dragon's polymorphin abilities? Is it able to transform itself into humanoids like us, or is it just beasts? And you ask around, and Polython, let me roll for Polython, see if she knows. She says, I don't know for a fact, but the stories say that they can transform themselves without bound. They can turn themselves into whatever they should choose. I'm not sure exactly of the validity of it. So, just on that, if it is possible, we should come up with some sort of a password or something that we can say, like an identifying phrase, to show that the people in this room are actually the people in this room when we meet each other again. Of course, there's danger that one of us is actually already the dragon if it's polymorphin his ability, and you can tell you can feel the tension in the room suddenly become thick and palpable as people kind of look around each other, none of them having realised that possibility before. But of course, if we are all safe, as I'm sure we are, we could always have some sort of a passphrase. Scout the location, panpipes. Do you know whether the dragon hunts outside of town normally? We don't know that. Do we have a range of dragon sense? We do indeed, dooming other pilgrim. We have an ability called Primeval Awareness. If we wanted to use that right now, it would cost us one of our 2 level 1 spell slots, but we would be able to specify a radius from us, and we would be able to specify a particular type of creature, dragons for instance, and then it would ping if there is anything that classes as dragon within that radius. Do we know enough about our favoured enemy to know he's not a humanoid? We don't know that much information about them, unfortunately, S2 Saint. We know enough to be able to track them and things, and know relatively lots of information, but we don't know about dragons enough to know whether they can become humanoids or not. You know that the stories often claim that they can, but the stories often claim that they're like the sides of mountains and things as well, so the stories can be quite easily exaggerated. Should we sense for dragons in the room? What do people think? Can we just say a word in Draconic and watch the reactions? You can do so, yeah, Drek. You at the table, you sort of slip into the conversation. You're saying, so of course, so if we needed to identify ourselves in future, we could say a passphrase of some kind, like
and then you say in Draconic, "I know you're here." And you quickly sort of look around, and to everybody else it sounds like we could say a phrase like and there's sort of like a... I'm going to make an insight check on your behalf to see if you've managed to trick any of them into sort of revealing themselves with a tell. Oops. It bounced out of the tray, so I'll roll it again because it's good, because it was a 7. Is that one? That's not cocked. It's a 4. A 4 plus your insight. You are not proficient in insight, so it's just a +2 from your wisdom. That's a 6. With a 6 insight, you look around and there's confusion. Kind of slow head turns towards you as you speak Draconic in this room after just suggesting that one of you might be a dragon. And the tension, with the 6 insight, it's still enough to tell that the tension increases, but it is not enough insight to see if any of them have given themselves away as a tell. Maybe not that phrase, though, whatever that was, one of them eventually says. So do we want to... and then we immediately regret speaking. After making these people probably think that we're a dragon in disguise. We're an introvert. We always regret speaking. Alright, so, yes or no, who is in favour of using Primeval Awareness? I'll put it to a poll. If the dragon is polymorphed, will we still detect it? Who knows? Alright, with 79% of the vote, Apis decides, yes, we're going to cast Primeval Awareness. Now, is it a visible casting? So the way I have described it before is that Apis is tuning into the feelings of what it feels like to hear about these creatures in stories, what it feels like to encounter them in real life, how it makes your body feel to be in that circumstance, and they're feeling whether they feel that way, whether there is something unnatural or whatever in the room that's making them feel that same sense. So it would be visible in the sense that you would be like focusing, you'd be closing your eyes and like focusing in on certain things, but it wouldn't necessarily be obvious what you're doing. So you could theoretically get away with casting it without anybody knowing what you're doing. You would just be doing something. Make it look like we're thinking really hard. It is possible for you to hide it off as any of these other things. But whether we want to or not, whether we want to just come clean and say, hey, by the way, as a ranger I am imbued with this ability from the gods of the hunt and whatnot, to suss out whether creatures in the room are this or that or the other, blah blah blah. Here's what I'm about to do. Do we want to come clean and say it, like right up the top, or do we want to try and secretly do it? Alright, so 78% of Apis says no, we're not going to hide the fact, we're going to come clean and just tell them that fact. And as such, we also use the opportunity to explain why we just spoke Draconic to them. So after there's a little tension of them looking at us like, what the fuck was that about? And some of them, you can probably tell, are thinking, oh god, this is where we find out that the ranger, this outsider ranger that has just come to us as like this helpful sod, is actually the dragon. And of course, you can't be because you were at the north end of town when the other one flew overhead, so unless there's two of them. So logically it wouldn't make sense, but in the moment of, oh god, what if Apis is the dragon? You can tell that that's going through some of their minds, and so you say, I'm sorry, just to clarify, I spoke in Draconic there, specifically just to see if I could catch any of you out. I wanted to test to see if any of you understood it and reacted accordingly. It was a simple test for my own peace of mind to see if I could catch any of you out. But to be sure, I, as a ranger and a follower of Ultimaze, the god of the hunt, I have an ability to sort of tell whether or not the creatures that I'm hunting are within a certain radius of me. I'm going to use that ability now. It's not dangerous to anybody. You won't even notice that it's happening. I just can kind of tap into a level of understanding of the world around me in the immediate vicinities. And as long as none of you are dragons, unless any of you want to speak up now, and there's kind of like a shaking of heads, then you shouldn't have anything to worry about. And you close your eyes after a big deep breath. And you focus on what it felt like to be staring down at the half-dragon boar. What it felt like to be chased on the back of a wild-shaped briar away from a half-dragon bat. What it felt like to be breathing in poisonous fumes that were vomited onto you by half-green dragon squirrels and rats. You tap into the sense of anger that you felt, the iration that you felt coming back to your town of Shafgushal and finding it utterly destroyed by a very old green dragon. And finally you tap into the feeling that you felt when you saw, for the first time, Lucifric flying over the town of Fondirg, landing just north of the walls, and speaking to you. How it felt to allow that deep, resonant voice to echo within your own body chambers. The power and bass that you felt pushing into your own body from just sheer the force of his voice. It's an interesting feeling of anger mixed with purpose. You've dedicated so many years of your life now to studying dragons, to the point where you've even learned the way that they speak. You know dragons. There is a sense of purpose to your life, to take out, to have revenge on the dragon that destroyed your hometown. And as much as you can remember what all of that feels like, you don't feel it. Nowhere within the radius of the room do you feel any of that sense coming from any of them. So unless any of them have a way to hide it, you're pretty sure at this point that none of them are a dragon. And doing so has used one of your remaining spell slots for the day. So, you are in the mayor's meeting. You are pretty confident for yourself anyway that none of these guys are a dragon, but you've kind of done some suspicious stuff in the room to make people potentially suspicious of you being a dragon. What do you want to do about that? Anything? Ask if they want proof. So we share our results with the room. We say, I'm confident that none of us are a dragon. I don't get the sense that I get from a dragon in this room. You, with your insight, +2 insight, you get a pretty good read of the room that there are a few people who would be... In fact, these people are high enough up that they probably wouldn't be disrespectful about your abilities. It would be the Artisanal Alliance lady. The lady from the Artisanal Alliance is probably Tammy. Is probably the one that that you get kind of like there's a sense of rolling her eyes about like, oh, the one person that we don't know, the one most outsider of the group, the one that has brought us these dragon troubles in the first place, and then just spoken Draconic, is also the one that we're meant to be believing that it's kind of all of that kind of tied up in this sort of like eye roll, but she doesn't say anything. If there's only one dragon, it's now either Apis or nobody. True. So at least you've narrowed down suspicion across each other. Like now everybody's suspicion is either on you or not at all. So at least you've narrowed down some suspicion. Do they know that we're from Shafgushal? I'm losing track of who knows what about Shafgushal now. I don't believe you don't tend to go around telling people that. In the past, when given the opportunity, Apis usually votes to not tell people, and so I don't think that these guys know that you're from Shafgushal. Can anyone in the room cast a spell that makes us tell the truth? You ask that, and you say, if you... I understand that this could look suspicious on us. If we have anyone here who can detect whether or not I'm telling the truth, I'm more than willing to subjugate myself to that. I will subject myself to anything that you can do that forces the truth. And they kind of all look around, and the mayor says, I don't think that's quite necessary. I for one, trust your word, Apis. For one thing, we know that the dragon was in a different place to you, and both were seen at the same time. So if you are in cahoots with this dragon, then you're either are who you say you are, but just with false motives, or there's two dragons, in which case we're screwed either way. And he kind of says that with like a sort of a laugh that indicates like if that's the case, then who cares? Like, there's nothing to worry about, because if there's two dragons in the mating pair or something, then whatever. When there's nothing we can do about it anyway. Didn't we mention it in the first meeting, the town we're from? Maybe Asesha. I can't remember. You can mention it again now if you want. Dug ourselves into a nice little hole. We did a little bit, yeah. Why would we even propose a password and tell everyone we suspect this? No one was even thinking about it. If we would have been in the clear. That is true. Does anyone of them knows something about us from our past that could tell them about, again, as a proof that it's really us, or they don't know us for that long? None of the people in the room really know you that long, no? You've only met them since arriving in Fondirg. And you arrived in Fondirg like 3 days ago at most. Can't remember exactly. How long have you been in Fondirg? Oh no, actually you were here for the 5 days of level up, so training with Sam, level up day 1, visit the knights, hand over the doll, set off in the morning. So we set off on the 4th of Eltabris. It is now the 12th. So we've been in Fondirg for about 8 days. So 1 week. We've spent 1 week in Fondirg. A week is 8 days in my world. Everybody knows dragons can't play the panpipes. Natural one. And they're like, he's a dragon. They're a dragon. They've just said it. Alright, can we make a persuasion check? See how well we managed to persuade them. Let's do so. Let's see how well we managed to persuade these guys that we're not actually a dragon in disguise. That was cocked. 6 plus our persuasion of 1 is a 7. 7, unfortunately, we're not doing a very good job of persuading them. But they're also not just like attacking us. They are who they are, what they've said they are. They're suspicious, but rightly so. You've given them reason to be suspicious, but they're not acting on that. They're not locking you up or anything, or accusing you of anything. You've just now brought it to their attention that the dragon can polymorph, and as such he might be doing so. So you say, right, we should definitely come up with some sort of a password though. I understand if you don't trust me and you want to come up with different passwords when I'm not in the room, but I suggest the password Narad. Nerad is Darren backwards, and it's a sufficiently nonsense word as far as I know. It doesn't mean anything. So Nerad, and everybody's like, sure. When we meet, we say Nerad if prompted, and that will suggest that we are who we say we are. Very, very well. Now, what's next order of business? Well, sorry, the mayor says. Next order of business then is what to do about this dragon and counterattacks. Are we going to continue to sacrifice people at dusk? And Pertran says,
"No, I don't think that's necessary. The dragon boar made it very clear today that the sacrifice was never his intention. He wishes to choose for himself which people he ambushes and attacks. The main focus for us now needs to be to protect the town as much as possible, keep everybody together. Nobody is to get on their own. The closer people can stay together, the more chance they have of driving him away from his attacks. So far, we can tell that he's cowardly. He has attacked only when there have been very few people around and very few defences. He even sent out his own children to die at the hands of our defences just to test their range. He doesn't want to risk coming in the range of the ballistas of town. As long as everybody stays within the walls, we should be safe. The next thing then is to decide, when do we attack back? Do we keep our defences and hope that he gives up? Dragons are known to hold a grudge. Prothon says he will never give up. We have slighted him, and until he feels like he has repaid his debt to us and we are
paying him fealty as his status demands. He will not give up until we are subjects, until we are subservient subjects. Right, then we definitely need to attack then. So, scouting mission to try and work out where his lair is and attack him where he stands. Once we've got the forces to do so. Apis says, as I say, I'm capable enough in my abilities to scout out where this lair is. I suggest that in the morning after I've rested, I assist you with scouting. All in favour? He looks around and there's a few hands go up. The woman from the Artisanal Alliance doesn't put her hand up, but everybody else in the room has. Right, you are then. Apis, we have much to discuss amongst ourselves, but it's important that you were well rested for this scouting mission. You have a place to stay? Aye. Right. You may be dismissed to go and rest, and may Altemez help you on your hunt tomorrow. Thank you. And you stand. And anything else you want to say as you're leaving the room? Before any last questions or anything that you have for them before you leave to go get a rest? You say, "I'm so sorry, Polython," and then you say in Sylvan, "We'll avenge Charlie." And she just kind of lightly nods. So we head back towards the area of town where we see the tattered page, the inn that we're staying in, and we let ourselves into our rented room. We've got a bathroom that's a shared bathroom in this place, so you head over there and you wait your turn until it's free. You run yourself a bath, you clean all of the day's sweat and poison and blood and any sort of damage or anything. You sort of let it all soak away. You clean yourself as much as you can. You hang your clothes up to dry in your room, and your armor and everything, your leather armor. Lock the door. Put something in front of the door, a big piece of furniture, and then you went to sleep. You speak to Mel before you let Mel into your room. Speak to her. Mel, I've got some bad news. The dragon, it killed some of the flowers at the PEA. Yes, even the fun ones. Mel goes, "No, that is terrible news. Ah, zut alors." And then Mel curls up on the end of your bed. As we are getting ready for bed, we do have 2 more spell slots, a first and a second level spell slot. If you want to use them before you long rest, you can do so, but you will be using up your spell slots, and in the hope that nothing attacks you in the middle of the night or anything. If you use up all your spells right before you start a long rest, going, "Oh, it's fine because they're free, I'm going to get them back anyway," then that's all well and good if you complete the long rest without a hitch. But if you are woken in the middle of the night by some sort of situation, as has happened in Twitch Tales before, it might pay to have them on you. Primeval for fiends at the maximum range. Anybody in favour of using Primeval Awareness for any reason before you go to bed to look for fiends? Pray to Altemez before bed. We could definitely do that. Sound the panpipes for a bit just to relax ourselves. Yeah, we've got a little bit of time. We could play the panpipes for a while. All right, we'll play the panpipes for a bit. I'm going to roll. It's basically a practice session. This is not a performance. This is a practice. In order to practice, to train something in my games, you roll. You add twice your intelligence modifier, and then a particular modifier based on whether or not somebody is teaching you something or that you're just teaching yourself. Because you're not learning from a songbook or anything, you're just teaching yourself. You're not adding anything other than just double your intelligence modifier. So you roll, add 6. 11. You need a 12. So you do not manage to get any further in your proficiency with panpipes on your long path towards getting double proficiency expertise. You do not make any progress before going to sleep. And there was an overwhelming no. We're not going to use our spell slots. We're just going to go to sleep. Take a 20 on prayer to Altemez. Yeah, a proper long thank you. So we take 20 minutes. Do what's called taking 20. Do something where you can just if there's no detriment to failing the check, you can just try it again, then there's no point rolling until eventually you get a nat 20. You can just assume that you're going to get a nat 20 at some point after rolling for enough times. So I'll take 20 minutes to just have a proper meditative prayer to Altamez. After playing the panpipes for a bit and just realizing very quickly about half an hour into it that your mind's not on it, you're not practicing anything, you're not making like active progress. You put your panpipes away and instead you just quietly think. You get two of your arrows out, you cross them in front of you. You sit cross-legged on the floor and you pray. You thank Altamez for the work that they did in tonight's ambush. You apologise to Altamez for not being a good enough hunter to recognise when a trap was being turned on you. But you thank him for providing you with such powerful targets to hunt in the form of this giant boar and this giant crow and all of the rats. You thank him for the opportunity to hunt such powerful creatures. You pray that he looks over your hunt tomorrow and guides your eyes to the subtle signs of passage of various animals through the undergrowth, subtle signs of scratching against logs or displacement of bushes that haven't sprung back. You ask that he guides your senses towards the smells of a creature moving past here in the near past, and you ask for his guidance and his blessing on the hunt tomorrow as you scout out the lair of this dragon. You thank him for his work, and you place out one of the crow feathers that you've plucked from the crow. As you place it on the ground in front of you between the two crossed arrows. That's cocked. 18 plus. So you place it on the ground in front of you, and as you do so, you see that the bottom part of the feathers, towards where the stem is. I don't know if there's probably a word for it that's not stem. The root of the feather is the part that would be a quill, that you would write with a quill. We are taking 20. We've taken 20. This is for something else. You place it down, and some of those feathers towards the shaft of the feather start to curl inwards, almost as if they're being subjected to heat. They start to curl inwards all the way down the shaft, and then the shaft of the feather seems to straighten out. The feather itself seems to straighten out, and the shaft of the arrowhead, the shaft of the sort of the quill tip, becomes sharpened and pointed, and sort of sprouts out to the side. And before long, you're looking at an arrow that is created by this crow feather, and then it seems as though it's been fired from a bow. 1 second it's there, and the next second it's gone. And you feel like Altamez has heard you and has granted you some of your blessings. And the form that takes, we'll see. Then you go to sleep, and you long rest. And because you chose to pray to Altamez, the god of the hunt, and that was not something that was necessary for you to do, but you chose to do so anyway, I'll give you inspiration for that. And in the morning, your lucky horseshoe resets, as do, I guess, all of your spell slots. You have 4 level 1 spell slots, 2 level 2 spell slots. You have all of your health back. You're at maximum hit points. You have maximum hit dice. You are not defeated or attacked or anything during the night. Nothing breaks in or prevents you from achieving your long rest. So in the morning, you wake up. You grab your your leather armor. You place your armor on over your undergarments. You grab your chest of drawers and drag it back to the side. Unlock the door of your rented chalet here at the Tattered Page, and you leave the room. You head towards where? Question mark. What is your intention? Going to go to the Knights. You needed to get a note from Cassandra from the Knights of Kvosna, the receptionist girl, to leave in order to get out of the town. You need to go to the mayor's in case they need to debrief you on what to do. Let's eat breakfast. Back to where we were at the mayor's place. Might have changed their mind about it after you left. Alright, so you head to the mayor's place. You head back towards the centre of town. As you get towards the centre of town, it's sort of early morning. It's early light. You woke just before dawn. So by the time you've got dressed and everything, it's just after dawn. And by the time you arrive at the town, it's sort of into early morning. And there's a bit of a commotion in town. There is a bit of a crowd gathered, and there's a bit of noise from lots of people's voices, lots of talking. You approach this crowd, and you can see that the kerfuffle is because in the town square there is a notice that is pinned to the side of the stone basin of the well in the centre of the town. And there is a couple of knights that are trying to come on, get back through, let me through. And one of the knights grabs it, and you can see him read. He looks over to the other knight, shows him. All right, come on, disperse. It's just a practical joke. It's just a little somebody's bad taste of humour. That's all it is. Come on, about your days. And they manage to sort of disperse a few people. You walk over, and one of them recognises you. You don't know him by name, but you've seen him on the gates a couple of times. He was one of the guards that you were talking to last night. Says, Apis, right? So, that's right. Says, what do you make of this? And he turns it around, and it's a piece of parchment that says, in ink, it's written in ink, your debt to me is increased. I may have to increase my collection rate. And on the base of the note, with the quill that it was written in, it seems to be an extremely large black crow feather. And it has been pierced through the page to just sort of hang off of the bottom of the note. What do you make of that? What do you say to it? You say, he'll pay with his life. Who's it written by? No, you don't recognise the handwriting. You say, where was it found? He says, I mean, just here. And you're standing by the well in the centre of town, right in front of where the mayor's town hall is, and where it's like a pretty big open space. It's not far from where the Knights of Kvosna is. Sounds like we're running out of time. It's a good thing that we're going scouting today. I'm going to find where he lives. We're going to get back our people. It appears the dragon has means to pass messages in town. I say that we don't... well, that's up to you. Do you reckon Apis would try and keep this secret, or would you ask the guards to put it out there to make sure that people are aware that the dragon can hide himself in town, or at least have a messenger in town? Were the gates all closed last night? And the guards say yes, the gates have been locked ever since yesterday morning. Either it's a joke and someone's trying to cause more chaos, and your mind goes to the thief and the thieves guild that potentially might benefit from chaos and people leaving their homes at a rush. They might not take with them their belongings, which the thieves could then utilise. Or maybe he sent one of his treasures, one of his humanoids, to write the message for him. Or perhaps he polymorphed. Or he has an ally on the inside of the town. Keep it secret, but tell the mayor. All right. So we say, listen. I say we keep this a secret for now. I'm going to talk to the mayor about it and see if it changes any plans. But I've got plans to head out into Lannis Woods today and see if I can find where this bastard's coming from. Right, sure. And the guards will roll it up and they'll give it to you since you're going to the mayor's anyway. Apis walks into the town hall and past the receptionist, explains that they're here to meet with thee, and he says, yes, I believe Mayor Chuffy was expecting you. And you walk past the receptionist into the hall with Mayor Chuffy. And in the hall with Mayor Chuffy this morning is a very tired-looking Chuffy, a very tired-looking Pertran, a very tired-looking Nathine. Nathine is one of the Wolverines of the town. And a tired-looking Nambra. Nambra is also a Wolverine of town. Also in the room are a couple of the other Knights of Kvosna that you haven't got the names for yet. A rock gnome called Yibble. You haven't met her yet. And a rock gnome called Ellie that you did fight with yesterday. Fight alongside, I should say. It's quite a lot of knights in the room, and there's discussions. They're all kind of crowded around one end of the table, just like, I don't know. There is no possible way that there's no. I don't know. She wouldn't have. It's not possible that she she might have gotten lost. There's also a chance that she's been abducted in the. They see you enter and Apis, hello. What is it? And you say, just outside right now there's a note pinned to the what's going on? Nothing. What is it? There's a note pinned to the well outside, and you hand it over. They read it. There's a sort of a collective sigh almost. What is it? Is somebody missing? Cassandra hasn't been seen for over a day now. Cassandra, for anyone who has forgotten or is new, is about a 15-year-old human woman who works as a receptionist in the Knights of Kvosna. Right? Where was she last seen? In the chaos of the town yesterday. She went to deliver the message to you yesterday. Brought you to the mayor's meeting. And then in the day she was busy with other tasks, I suppose. I don't know. I think it seems like the dragon perhaps has allies in the town. Unfortunately, that's the conclusion that we're coming to as well. If the dragon's taken her, he would try for everyone to see it to scare people. Potentially, yes. You say that. You say, if the dragon's taken her, why would he have just taken her in the night? Like, his MO to this point has been to scare people, to make people...
Yes, I wondered that, but that's why I thought that she hasn't been taken. But at the same time, it's also just as scary to not know where the danger comes from, to believe that this dragon can take you even from within the city walls. Chuffy, I need to stress that we cannot let this information get out to the public. At the moment, we are only keeping people in the walls because they believe that it is the safest place for them. We believe that it is the safest place for them. If word gets out that they're not even safe within the city walls, Fondirg will be a ghost town within a week. He nods and kind of considers it for a second. Yeah, sneaking in at night and kidnapping someone is pretty scary, so I think that may well be a part of the tactic as well. So, this scouting mission, is it still a go then? If the note is correct and he is increasing his collection rate and we're not safe in the town, I need to find him as quickly as possible and we need to deal with him. The mayor says, yes, I'm absolutely in agreement there. We need to set you out as soon as possible. We need to have as many people going as we can for safety, but at the same time have as few people as we can for safety, for being able to scout quietly. If you're confident in your abilities to get in and get out unseen, then you should go alone. If you believe that you need assistance, then we can find people that are appropriately talented in their stealthish ways to assist you. The choice is yours. So it's up to you guys. What do you want to do? It's you and Mel, obviously. Do you want to go with anybody else? Do you want to take anybody else with you? There is pluses and minuses to it, obviously. The pluses are that you've got more backup. The negatives are clearly that there's more chance of failure on stealth rolls and things. More of you will be rolling stealth rolls. More of you have a chance to actually be seen. You can't just,
If one person can be invisible, then that's one thing. But if there are lots of people who are there and they can't all go invisible, it's another thing. Obviously, there's more chance of being caught and less stealthy if you take more people. If you meet things on the way, which you probably will, you'll be able to stealth past them quicker if there's only one of you. But you'll be able to fight your way through them quicker if there's more of you. But it won't be stealthy if you fight. So lots of options. It's up to you. What do you guys think? Should you go alone? Should you not? Have you backup? Have backup hiding nearby. Go alone. Take the gnome druid. The halfling druid, who was raised by gnomes. Briar. Just you, Mel, and Briar. Pass Without a Trace does cover the whole party, but only if they're within 30 feet of you for the whole time. So the more people there are, the more chances there are that one of them's not within 30 feet of you and does not get this Pass Without a Trace thingamabob. Another downside is more of a mechanical level. The more people you take with you, the more NPCs that I have to deal with, and the longer that any combat takes, because I have more NPCs to deal with. Briar can wild shape into a mouse and live in your pocket. That is absolutely a thing that she can do as well. Get as much backup as possible. It's not going to be very much of a stealth mission if you take an entire town of 1,000 people with you, Norokai. The point of this is not necessarily to get in there and kill him. It's to find out where he lives and what sort of army he's dealing with, and kill him if you can. But you don't have to. That can be for another day. You need to sort of. It's an information gathering reconnaissance mission. Take all the NPCs, make Robert deal with all of the different accents and all of the different personalities and all of the different roles. And forget about all of them. Where's Master Padrick during this encounter with the giantess? He's on the ship somewhere, I don't know. Take the A-team, Briar, Apis and Mel. Alright, I'll put it to a poll. And with 63% of the vote, almost 2/3 of Apis' mind decides... I don't want to go alone. I've seen what this thing can do to single targets, and we'd be much more. Our chances of survival go up with number quite dramatically. And so you say, I'd like to take Briar if I can. She knows the woods, she knows the animals, she can talk with them, she can talk with the plants. She's useful in a fight, and I believe that she can remain stealthy. And there's a bit of like, who, what? And Briar, the little one with the crazy frizzy hair. The druid from the. Okay, wasn't she taken? No, that was Charlie. He's a bigger one. There's a Bridden fella. Right, yeah. Okay, yeah. Eventually, right, yeah. Yes, as you wish. We'll get a message to her, and she'll meet you at the front gates, the northern end of town. On that note, I said that I would get. Cassandra to write you a note, didn't I? I guess I can write that for myself. Can you ask Neelis on the front door, the receptionist, to bring me some paper? And you leave the room and you ask, Neelis, is it? Yes. Neelis, can you grab some paper for Bertrand, please? Right you are. And he gets a piece of parchment, ink bottle, quill, takes it to you. Bertrand writes you a little note to the guards on the northern edge of the town to say, Apis, Mel, and Briar are to be allowed to leave. Blah blah blah. He rolls it up. He signs it. Rolls it up. He doesn't have his sealing wax or his. Oh, he would have his ring on him, wouldn't he? It's usually in a signet ring, isn't it? The sealing wax things. Neelis brings in some sealing wax, candle. There you go. Add that to the guys on the gate. What a perfect disguise for a polymorphin dragon, a shape-shifting druid. Yeah, a wild-shipping druid. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Briar was the spy? So you head out of the town hall. Is there any last preparations that you wish to do? It is still early morning. Is there any last preparations you wish to do before heading out on your scouting mission? You have all of your equipment that you can see below you. You have a couple of healing potions on you. You have your magic rope. You've got your net. You've got some rations, torches, empty vials. Anything else you want? You've got 3 different books, one on plants, one on potions, one on planes. Plants, potions and planes, those are your 3 books. So you've got some that sort of stuff. Yes, a weapon that's +1, please. Yeah, good luck. Good luck. Pray to Altamez. We did pray to Altamez last night, and we feel like we've woken up just like there's something in the back of our minds just feels confident about our abilities to trek today. Can the Rebecca lady make us invisible again for free? No. Also, she greased up your bow and arrow, and you vowed through a couple of times nearly missing with the arrow that you were like, don't let anybody grease up the shaft of my bow anymore. Is there a place you can buy flasks of oil? There are, yes. So there is a general store in town, and there's a hunting shop in town. There's a few different places you could buy oil. Probably not from the hunting shop as much as... I suppose it is like a survival in the woods shop, and you'd need oil for cooking and oil lanterns and things. So you could get it from the hunting spot, Sam's shop, but you could also just get it from the general store or anywhere else. You probably even get, depending on what type of oil you're after, you could probably get it from the kitchens of various different restaurants. But if you're wanting like an oil flask, like something to put into a lantern, something that's flammable, highly flammable, then you'd want to buy it from a general store. Yes, yeah, all the stuff on our bow is cleaned off. It was all just flavour. It wasn't actually any mechanical difference to us. Do we have potions of invisibility in this campaign? Not yet, we don't. They're quite a rare item. I do use them in my games, but you don't have any potions of invisibility. Who wants to stop off at the general store and buy some flasks of oil? It's good to have as a flammable, like smash something on somebody, grease them up, slipping and sliding and greasing them up so that you can hit them with your fire arrows. You do have 4 arrows in your quiver that are fire arrows. They are regular arrow shafts that have been covered in the tar from a torch, so that if you dip them in flame, an open flame, you can set them on fire. They won't just light on their own, but they will be flammable if you dip them in a torch as part of an attack. Yes, overwhelming yes. So you stop off at the general store. Let me grab the. Is it on this? Is it on this? Am I accidentally showing off my custom-made DM screen? Let me see. Oil flasks. Oil flask, 1 silver piece. On the inside of my GM screen that's custom-made for me. Whoops. Accidentally showing that off. 1 silver piece per oil flask. How many do you want? You have on your person 12 gold, 9 silver, 10 copper. How many oil flasks do you want? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more? Pretty loaded up. We have got quite a lot of stuff in our bag, and it's not just like magical inventory. Like this stuff has to be carried around. So clattering too many glass flasks of oil might be an issue. All right, looks like time for a poll because we're not in one mind about this. 57% of the vote says to buy 3 flasks of oil. It is then. So you buy 3 flasks of oil from the general store on your way to the gate, and as you get to the front gate, ready to set off on your scouting mission, that, I'm afraid, is where we're leaving it for today. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye.